different this time around. I'm going to turn the music down in my headset as well. I'm going to have the music playing just a little bit in the background. I just find I work a lot faster and a lot better when I have just a consistent thing going on in my head. Um, so yeah, how's it going, guys? I'm so sorry I wasn't here last week. Last week I work at a company called CoreLogic. We were celebrating Juneteenth, and by the time I got home, because I was out in the sun running around so much, I was so wiped that I couldn't I couldn't stream when I got home. I was so tired. So instead, we're picking up today, and as always, we're going to be doing Final Fantasy VII Summons. Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games. I grew up playing it when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, maybe around 12 is more accurate. And it will forever be a game that's near and dear to my heart. We got some really big news this week as Final Fantasy VII fans. So really excited for that. Really excited for the Crisis Core remake. Really excited for Part 2 coming out. Rebirth's coming out next year. We have Ever Crisis coming out on mobile. There's so much good stuff coming out for Final Fantasy VII this year. I'm so happy. So yeah, we're gonna pick up where we left off on Titan, and yeah, let's do just a quick overview of what we've done so far. So we did Chocomog, we did Shiva. So we're kind of going down the list, right, of all of the different summons. Shiva's the second summon that you pick up. We did Ifrit's second, which was really fun. He was my spicy boy. We did Ramuh 2 weeks ago, and today we're going to be doing Titan. Now, I thought what I would do that would be helpful or interesting for people is to share with you guys sort of what we're working with, because I feel like that was something I hadn't really done. I hadn't really shared with you. Yura, behold my son cameo. Yura. He's like really invested in whatever's going on outside. For people that haven't played Final Fantasy VII, I thought it would be fun to share with you guys. Sorry, give me 1 second. I thought it'd be fun to share with you guys what it is, what it looks like, right? So here we are. Deathblow. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Can we make it a bit bigger? All right, so this is going to take you through all of the summons, but we're only going to watch a couple of them. So Deathblow is Chocobog, which was the first one that we did. You can see the Midgar Zolom in the foreground. Boom! That would actually be a really dope shirt. That I should design that. I should design Boom as a t-shirt. That would be dope. Fat Chocobo. So this is a rare summon that just randomly shows up. You do see him in the remake as well. Second is Diamond Dust, which is Shiva. And what else is there to say except that she's a baddie. And her element is ice. Of course, the Midgar Zolom here. Did Sephiroth do this? No. Next is Hellfire, which is Ifrit. And part of the reason why I wanted to do this as well is I didn't use the Titan materia a whole lot. The Earth materia really wasn't used a whole lot in the game. At least I personally didn't use it a great deal. This one is going to be Ramuh. Or Ramuh. Call him Ramuh. And of course Ramuh's lightning. But yeah, I haven't used a whole lot of Titan. So I just kind of wanted to share with you guys, you know, like I've talked about like the polygonal style of this PlayStation 1 game. And sort of the design, Anger of the Land is what it's called. The design of it lends itself to the sort of style that I do. He's got like a little hip jewelry going on there. Let's watch him again. So, there's just a couple of things I'm looking at. I'm just kind of looking at his pose. I've already kind of blocked this out. He's got long white hair, it looks like, back there. And claws. He's got golden bangles on each wrist. I'm gonna do one more look. Yeah, he looks like he's wearing like a, what's it called? Those things that football guys wear when you don't want to get hit in the nuts. A cup? Is it a cup? Jockstrap. He's wearing a jockstrap. A bejeweled jockstrap. I think he's going to be pretty straightforward. This is also going to be a really great opportunity to do some anatomy work as well. So that's going to be fun. So as always, oh, it just occurred to me, you guys had a horrible view just now of that. I'm so sorry. I moved my my Streamlabs over, and I think that's why it didn't even occur to me that, like, whatever, it's fine. Hi. You can tell I haven't streamed in a little bit. So I've already, you guys, if you've been watching this for a while, I've already done some sketches. So this is my Titan sketch. I find it really important to always start off with sketching and thumbnailing your work. It saves you a lot of time in the back end and on the front end. Just making sure that we have that. All right, we're gonna do a new canvas layer. We're doing 2000 by 2000, 300 DPI. We're gonna paste that bad boy in there, and then we're gonna go to canvas. We're gonna go to drawing guide and edit it. Our grid size is gonna be 500. Nope, 250. That's what I've been doing. And we're gonna hit done. I always do this. They really shouldn't have put. Excuse me. Hello. There you go. They really shouldn't have put white under the done button, because then you're just having false positives and changing it to white, the grid. All right, so as always, I'm really trying to keep my composition within this sort of boundary here, within these lines, right? There's a couple reasons for that. One is it's always really good to have breathing room around the edges of your composition. And two, I do plan on releasing these all as t-shirts. And as such, I need to keep in mind that I have a certain amount of space that I'm working in, and I like to work in sort of a square space. So yeah. I guess I'm done talking. Let's just start drawing. So a couple of things here. I know that I kind of want, this is sort of that back, the back of the wingspan, as I like to say. These are going to be his shoulders, upper body, elbows, and maybe we'll kind of have him hunched over like that. Elbow. This is going to be his thumb. And so there's a couple of things that we're trying to think about here. We're thinking about our line of action. We're thinking about our composition, right? So when you think about when you're trying to lift something, you're not just lifting something from your arms. You're not, hopefully, especially if you're in your 30s like I am or older, you should not be lifting from your back. You're lifting from your butt. You're lifting from your legs. You're using your core. Everything's tight. And the line of action, you're pulling sort of from the center of your mass. And if your core is engaged and you're doing it properly, and you're lifting from your hips and your butt and your legs and everything's activated, you're not lifting from your back. But the motion, the movement is coming from this area, which is what's going to give you that sensation that was called a line of action, right? That everything's going up in this direction, right? So we talked about that, I think, in the Shiva episode, a little bit about line of action, and also just sort of like where you want your eyes to be looking as well. So these are his knees. I know it's a little ambiguous here. All right, so I think I could put his head forward, but I think I'm gonna have his head up. It's gonna be his neck, sort of the eye line. That's gonna be the hairline there, probably the nose here, because I want to have a little bit of that jowl, like his lip, right? And I want just a little bit of his neck jewelry to be showing, the ornamentation on his hips. And then I think think I'm going to want this piece to kind of come up. Like I want it, I want that feeling of something being peeled open already, because if he's just kind of pulling at the ground, that's not a very visually interesting design. And I don't want it up either, because then it's, you know, he's done the work. So you want to kind of catch characters as that motion is starting, right? So you want to catch them sort of in the middle of something, even like gesture drawing. You don't want somebody gesturing like this. You want them here, right? Like that, just before they're about to settle, as their hair is still moving, as their clothing is moving, right? You don't want them to be sitting in the pose. So these are all things that are going on in my head as I build this stuff out. So his ankles here, his feet. How do I want his feet to look? Hold on, let's go back to that video. Oh, I closed the video. Oops. Let's go back to it though. Oh, good. Ads. My favorite. Okay. I'm trying to get to the right point, and then I will summon you guys. Hellfire. Nope. Remove. Titan. Okay, hold on. All right, he has arrived. So let's bring you guys back up here. Baller. Oh God, I can't see anything. Test. I'm just trying to make sure everything's like legible, ready. Okay, you guys should be able to see this properly, and I'm just dumb. Ignore the corner of Streamlabs over here. You should not be able to see that. Okay. Hi. So here's Titan. Let's go a little bit back in time. I just want to see what's going on with his feet so that I can position. Okay, his feet are kind of like what most men do, right? Like, you'll notice women tend to have their feet, like their toes and their heels, kind of pointing forward. Also, fun fact, the direction that women are pointing their feet shows you the direction of where their interest is. Also, men tend to have their feet out, and they also tend to stand wider. Probably a whole lot of anatomical reasons for that, also behavioral reasons behind that. But yeah, we have this sort of wide stance. Yeah, and so he's actually squatting, like sumo squatting here. Okay, let's go back here. So what I have here is a different pose. So I'm just trying to decide if I want to keep this. So we're going to duplicate this and get rid of that. It's still there. If I hate it, we can always come back. Don't panic. But you gotta learn. You gotta learn a little bit of murder in your job as a creative person. So I think what I want to do is lower him a little bit. Nope, I don't want to lower him. If we echo what we have in the video, we can actually see his junk right there. And then his legs are like this. So that's his kneecap. But I feel like he looks so lame. Like, I feel like if I do this, he looks like he's taking a shit. You know? And it helps because, like, I'm looking at a different monitor, so it gives me a different perspective. Yeah, that looks like shit, fam. We're not doing that. We're gonna do what I think is right. So I think what I'm gonna do is definitely have his foot angled out this way. Nope, because that looks dumb too. See why they posed him like this? What if... Yeah, I think that's the move, right? Because we're looking at silhouettes. And we want the silhouette. I just realized that I have chat minimized. I really hope nobody's been messaging me because I have not been paying attention. I'm gonna rip this fucking thing off. I need to stop chewing on it. This is why my sketch looked like shit too, because I was like really, like I knew that I wanted this sort of movement, but I didn't like sort of what was going on. What we could do, what we could be really cheeky about, and this is, I do not want young designers to be copying me, but sometimes when you have a design problem like this, sometimes you just kind of need to hide it. You can't do this every time in all of your work, because that just makes you a lazy person. But there's a principle in animation that is called appeal. So there's 12 principles of animation, and so there's things like follow through, squash and stretch, timing, things like that, right? And one of them is appeal, and that concept came about, and it's literally in Ollie and Frank's Illusion of Life book, which if you're trying to get into animation, you absolutely have to get this book. It's this idea of, you know, sort of what is appealing, right? And so typically what's really appealing, these ears are usually here. What's usually appealing is seeing Mickey in a 3/4. That's why we tend to see him in this pose, right? That's why we tend to see him in that direction. We tend to see Mickey straight on, which is a little less interesting, but that could work too, right? So there's this sort of appeal that happens naturally. We often see him in the side, right? Especially when he's like making this big gesture. And you'll notice his ears like to rotate, right? So his ears will move like that. You will never, ever see Mickey from this direction or Mickey from this direction. There's two reasons for that. One reason is it's disgusting and difficult to draw, which is, you know, sort of why we have the slidey ears solution for Mickey, right? That's A. B is it looks like shit. And that's why it's called appeal. Like, that's why that's a principle of animation. You got to make sure every single frame looks good. And in this case, because of the positioning of the foot, it's going to be foreshortened and it's just not going to look good. So we're not going to draw it. And if you can get away with it within reason in your composition, and if it makes sense, you should absolutely do it. So we're going to do that. And we learned something good and interesting. And that is appeal. Don't at me on this, but at me on it, because this is something that a lot of junior designers don't understand, the difference between making decisions because it's the right decision visually and just being lazy. And I always want you to do your job. You know, like, do the work, do your job, but also like think about these things. All right, so the other thing that I'm thinking about now that I have like this gigantic Arnold Schwarzenegger guy on my thing, I just realized I gave him a huge butt, which is not a thing. Men do not have big butts generally. So I think what I want to do is I want to make his upper body bigger. So we're going to pull down the opacity on that. And now, so this is where it gets really frustrating, fun, challenging about being an illustrator, is that your work is grounded in reality, right? And so there's physics at play. And so there's a couple of things that we have to consider. We have to consider that he has a spine that's running back here. He's got, you know, his shoulder blades. He's got his clavicles and his trapezius muscles, which are gigantic. His shoulders are going to come out from here. And because he's so muscular, don't just be like doing this. That doesn't mean anything to anybody, right? Like, you really got to be thinking about your traps. You got to be thinking about like the musculature in somebody's arm. So it doesn't matter how much you weight lift, how much arm day you have, you will never bulk up this part of your arm. This is tendons. There's no muscles here. So you're never going to bulk this up. So when you see somebody with chonky, thick wrists, there's a little bit of muscle buildage there, but mostly that's bone structure. Like, you can't really bulk this area up too much. There's only so much muscle that's here. It's mostly tendons, right? So when you bulk up, there's a huge muscle here. And these muscles are what drives the functionality and the motor of your tendons, which run into your fingers, right? Which is also why you can't bulk up your hands. Like, you can gain weight in these areas, but your hands are one of the last places to gain weight. Same thing here, but you tend to gain weight here and in your core, right? So you have to think about these sorts of things when you're drawing a really muscular character, that when you're adding bulk, you're adding bulk here, you're adding a little bit of bulk here, you're adding a ton of bulk here, you're adding bulk here, you're adding bulk here, but you're not, there's only so many muscles in your arms. There's only like 4 main muscle groups. So don't be wilding out. You can add definition and really get into like the minutia of like what all of these different muscles are for sure, but you can't bulk up this part of your wrist. So please don't make this part chunky or weird. That's generally a pretty flat part of your arm. So we're definitely going to see that sort of definition here. That's his shoulder. We have sort of biceps and triceps over here. And then we have the front of the chest. And then, so we have this head piece. That's like that. Man, and he's got an ugly, you guys can't see the reference, but I'm looking at it. And man, this man, ugly. Okay, I just missed it. Hold on. Give me a second. All right, boom. Okay, let's go back to that. You can kind of see sort of this, there's a couple of things, right? He's got this disgusting widow's peak, and he's got this line through the front of his face. He's got a pretty pointed nose, and he's got those little toothsies, sort of a pretty defined jaw. And he's got like pretty pointed, but they're not pointy, like they're there. His like cheekbones? Cheekbone. What is this called? There's a technical term for it. Mandible. Cheekbone? Doesn't matter. Moving on. And you can also see he's got practically no neck, and he's all traps. This is all traps, fam. This is his clavicles. So on my body comparatively, these are my clavicles and these are my traps. His traps are the size of his head. Like, his traps are big. Big. So we could actually, you know, if we really wanted to make this a little bit true to size, we could actually probably make his head just a little bit smaller. And his hair, we can't really see it in this shot. His hair is supposed to kind of come down his back. So we'll do that. We could even have just a little bit of sort of spine. I love that. I love when like a person bends over and they have low body fat and you can see the like ridges on their spine. You can kind of like play them like a piano. It's like, anyway, nice little feature to like amp up there. We could also see sort of these huge muscles. What's interesting is the choice that they made on which muscles to define in the legs. And again, you'll notice, and I'm not going to lift my leg up to show you, people's knees are not very big. You can't bulk up, you can't really see it here, you can't bulk up people's knees. It's just not a thing. You don't have any muscles or anything there. But you do have 2 pretty big muscles in the back of your knees as well. All right, so we're going to do the side of the leg. That's going to be the kneecap. Why do all of the men in this, why do so many men have shoebox calves? What are y'all doing? You're definitely keeping secrets in those calves. let me fucking tell you what. I just realized I went back to drawing. Didn't show you guys, like a complete idiot. So sorry about that. What I was talking about is putting his hair back here. Here's his kneecaps. Here's those leg muscles. Here's the side. Same thing with the hips. You can't, once you start slimming down, especially on men, that's why sort of when you're looking at a male body, they tend to have this V shape. And then, you know, they call it like the happy trail, right? Because how your hair grows on your body. On men, their hair tends to grow through here. By the way, this is not a kid-friendly thing. If you haven't figured that the fuck out by now, I'm really sorry. Please don't cancel me. I'm not working, so I can do whatever I want within reason. But yeah, so that's why, you know, they tend to really show off this part of the male body, because this part of their bodies tend to get really cut, and you'll see sort of this indent. Even in like dad bods, they have the indent here, which women do not have. We actually have the opposite problem, where our hips are much wider, and so it's the belly button, and our body wants to come out. So that's why you have that hourglass shape. So for men, you guys typically, you're kind of, anyway, I'm just going on a tangent about naked bodies. You know what? I blame Titan for this, because he's half naked and he's wearing a G-string sports thing. What is it called? Jockstrap. I blame him for wearing a jockstrap. His jockstrap is not my problem. Okay. I'm done. We're gonna move on to the hands. So there's a couple of things going on with the hands here. This mass is coming towards us. And the hand, the palm of the hand can either be flat on the top of the thing that he's grabbing, or it could be on the edge, right? So, let me grab, oh no, please go back to your home. Here, so let's pretend that this is the slab that I'm pulling up out of the ground. I can either pull it up from here and pull back, or I can put my hand here for leverage and pull back, right? And so I'm just trying to think, okay, how do I want, oh God, I'm sweating. It was raining earlier today and you would not know it. So I think what I want to do is I want to have a little bit of foreshortening here, but to avoid the same problem of foreshortening that I had in the feet, I'm going to turn his hand out just a little bit. And typically, if you're dealing with that problem with foreshortening, cheat out this way or this way. Typically for hands, if your hand is already out straight, it's, depending on what you're doing, it's kind of hard to cheat out. And in other situations, it's easier to cheat in. It really just depends, right? So if your hand is straight at camera and your elbow is locked out, it's easier to cheat out a little bit more, right? So you could do that, or up. It's a little bit harder to cheat out unless you start twisting diagonally, right? And then in this direction, you would have to twist that way, but just going straight across doesn't work. So in this situation, he's already turned about this way to camera. So it makes sense, because your hand typically does tend to want to go inside. It would make sense that his hand is going to come in this way rather than grab it from that way. So I think we're going to do something. I'm going to try really hard to not have a feminine pose in my hands, but you're probably going to have something like this. Fingers splayed. And then maybe a grouping here. And then on this side, I'm going to have this thumb come over, because this is the edge, right? This is like this edge. And then this side of the rock is coming towards us this way. And so this line is parallel with sort of the edge of his fingers, right? Like the line of which he's bending his hand over something. That line is parallel here, and that's how you create structure, because if you choose to make this line a different angle, you start creating wobbly effects, and it's just better to, you know, make parallel lines in those situations. And then we do want this to be going backwards, so like that, right? And so we're kind of thinking about, you know, if everything is being lifted up and back, the direction that this thing, this like grip of dirt is going back in, these lines are going to be parallel as well, right? Because he's opening the soda can, right? And you don't like twist the soda can in like a weird direction, or the soda tap. You up and back, right? And so it's going to be the same thing here. We want these lines to be going up and back. And I think to give sort of the sense of where this line was, we have to think about sort of the extension of that here. And then we can kind of have this be like a darker spot, but then this is going to have a little bit of color. And then I think just having some lines that sort of show the intensity of this thing being lifted. And I think also to kind of break the monotony of this line, we're going to put like a little bit of dirt kind of overlapping, just to have a little bit of visual interest here. Like that. I hope all of that makes sense, because I'm not going over any of this again. So we're gonna put all of those together. We're gonna get rid of that, and we are going to turn down the opacity on this. And we're gonna do what we do every single time, which is rename everything. Please, I don't want it to auto minimize. I don't want keyboard. Sketch. I still don't know how to fix this, dude. We're gonna rename this. Yeah, see, I don't. Pencil settings. No, I don't want Scribble. Scribble can fuck off. Oh! 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 I fixed it. God, it's been like a pain in my side for so long. Okay, good. This is gonna be body. We're gonna call it upper body. Oh my god, my quality of life has just like quadrupled. We're gonna make this a green color because I can. It really doesn't matter what color I'm gonna make it. Or we're gonna just build out this sort of upper body shape. And I think his shoulder here is gonna be included in that. The chest. And maybe this sort of upper hip area. We're gonna do the lower body now. Because the legs are spread out. I don't mind having it all on one layer. It's really not an issue. If we were planning on animating this down the line, though, that would be a different story. But for the purpose of what we're doing, it's fine. And then here. But yeah, if you know you're going to be animating something, you're definitely going to want... Oh, God, I'm so sweaty. You're definitely going to want to put everything on different layers, like down to like absolute minutia. But we don't need that. We're going to rename this arms, because we're going to do the same thing, because the arms are spread out. Actually, no, we're going to do arm front. Sorry, I lied. Arm front, because this is going to be in front of the body, and then we're going to have arm back, because that's going to be the back of the body. Arm back. And I feel like I talk about this in every episode, but we're going to talk about it again. Ew, did I just say episode? I mean, I guess it's an episode, but I'm getting old. Label everything. Label everything. You're gonna want to go back. You're gonna want to rename stuff, and you're gonna be like, oh man, I really wish I'd labeled this because now I can't figure it out. I can't tell you how many times I suffered through that today because I was working super fast on a project, wasn't really paying attention too much, and then I was like, oh man, I have to figure out where this thing is. And I had a bunch of stuff clipped in, and that's where it gets really nasty. Is like if you have a bunch of stuff clipped into one another, and that you start regretting all of the choices that you've ever made in life. Sorry, we're just doing a little bit of cleanup on the line, on the shape work here. I just want a little bit more definition in all the right places. I'm gonna give him a little bit of ankle bone there. And then on this layer, just kind of want to smooth that out just a bit. And then on the body layer, I'm gonna do sort of that, and then up. I'm gonna bring that forward. Maybe soften that line up just a little bit. All right, now we're gonna do the head. The head's gonna be on the top layer. Oh my God, my quality of life, the fact that my keyboard is back. Amazing. We're gonna make the head this light green color. And remember that male characters tend to have a little bit more angular shapes. So we really want to be sure that we're honoring that in this design. We can make it soft, but just kind of going back in and giving him just a little bit, you know, make him an edgy boy just a little bit. It won't hurt. And then hair we're gonna have to put on a different layer. So I'm gonna call it hair back, and I'm gonna make it this like cream color. And I'm just really trying to create like a really beautiful shape here. Like almost imagining that, like, I think this is gonna get clipped in. What was I gonna say? Water's not gonna save me. I can't remember. Here's that widow's peak. It couldn't have possibly been very important if I'm gonna forget that easily. All right. You know, I'll even pop in a little bit of an eyebrow. Yeah. All right, now we're gonna move on to the hands. And I don't know. I take it back. We're gonna do the earth, the slab. We're gonna call it the slab. We're gonna do that one first. That's gonna make sense in a second, because the volume of the slab is going to dictate the positioning of the hands. That's the TLDR, right? And so we're just gonna block that out first. Otherwise, it's gonna be bad news bears for everybody involved. And then you see this line that I have here. We're gonna do drawing assist, or we're gonna draw the line straight across, and we're gonna turn off drawing assist. Excuse me, where's the gap? Oh, I see. That just creates nice, like a nice slick line, like tasty, right? We're also going to create a couple of pieces of dirt to kind of, we'll make it a light color just to kind of break up that space. And then there's going to be another little thing we're going to do to kind of tighten that up a little bit. I know I had it here. And I like to practice sort of this rule of odds. 3, 5, 7, 4 works, but you have to be using the 4 in combination with the 3 or 5. I feel like I just said a bunch of garbage to people that like don't really understand, but it's a thing. I don't know how else to explain it. When you're trying to figure out groupings of stuff, your eye likes to see 1, 2, 3. Your eye just likes odd numbers, and it likes the asymmetry of odd numbers. We could do 5. If I make this 4, then there has to be a little bit of symmetry there. If you're doing maybe 2 different colors of something, then you could do 3. Or you could do 5. Right? And so it feels like it's like, ooh, like that feels good to me. You could do 7 and so on and so forth. Right? If it's like stuff that's being kicked up. But there's something about the human eye that if I do 2 things, then they're kind of in relationship with one another. And then that relationship might mean something. If we do 4, then it's kind of like, well, why is this one over here? Right? And so if we do 6, my mind, I immediately go to grouping it into 3s. It's actually 2 3s and not. Does that make sense? So I'll do sort of that. And so I have like a 4 and a 2. And I don't know, like, and then you're just like, well, why? And then you're like, well, it feels kind of off. But even then, like, you have sort of symmetry there, and like you're seeing a pattern, but it's supposed to be random. So that's why if you're trying to go for sort of random placement of stuff, you want to do 3s, you want to do 5s. And even then, like, I'm like, oh, that feels intentional, right? So now I'm just kind of like trying to figure that out. So yeah, these are all like things that like haunt me late at night. What was this supposed to be? I don't think I was supposed to be anything. We're gonna do the hands now. I'm done talking about all that nonsense. So we're gonna do the hands, and we're gonna give them chunky boy fingers. And so the thinking here is that these are the 2 knuckles that I'm drawing, right? So he has, this first knuckle is hanging over like sausages. And so what we're seeing is his fingers going into the dirt to lift it up. So it's kind of this sort of position in his hands. I feel like I want those to all be like that, but then I want this one to kind of come forward a little bit more. And I also don't want these to run into one another, which is also kind of a pain. Let's see. We have a little bit of foreshortening as well, so maybe I'll do this. And then 1, 2, 3. Let's see, just see how that looks in the silhouette. Yeah, that feels pretty good to me. We'll do the same thing on this side. So on this side, the thumb works a little bit differently, right? So your thumb, you have 3 segments in these fingers. Your thumb actually has a segment. It's in here. It's like a bone that just didn't become another segment. But it's like, how do I begin to explain how your fingers work? These are your 4 knuckles, right? 2, 3, oops. And then these tend to be a little bit smaller. Your thumb is like here. But because this is all flesh, you kind of don't see that bone. And I'm Googling this because I feel like I knew this and I know this, but now I'm like questioning everything that I know. Hand bones. Watch me be wrong. I will be so upset. No, I'm right. I'm right. I was like having a moment. So the structure of your hand, you have bones. Oh god. I knew today was gonna turn into a whole anatomy thing. Hold on. But this stuff's interesting and fascinating, which is also why I like talking about it so much. Copy paste and goodbye. Go away. Thank you. Okay. So the way anatomy works in hands, right, is you have sort of all these bones that are your wrist, and I'm just gonna call it like garbage town because it's just a bunch of little bones that I can't begin to explain to you how they work. It's a bit like how do I explain this? Like, it's just the way that your hand works. Like, we don't walk on our feet, or we don't walk on our hands because our bones in our hands just don't have like the structure for it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So just these are your wrist bones. It's a party, right? There's just like a bunch of little bones in there. Off of this sort of block that's in here that allows sort of the movement in your wrist, because you have these are the bones. This is your radius and ulna. These are your forearm bones that go this way. So you have these long bones here. That is your palm. That's why your palm doesn't really bend, right? Like you could do that, you do that, and like you could kind of do that, but like they don't. These bones don't move a whole lot. Then you have this bone, which is the equivalent of what this bone is, right? So you have that thumb bone, and then these are your knuckles up here, right? So your knuckles are the ends of these bones. Does that make sense? So those are your knuckles. You don't have a thumb knuckle for a reason, because your thumb knuckle would, well, I mean, you kind of do. That's what this bone is, right? That's this right here. And so I like how I'm like, it's this right here. It's this. That point is the same as these, right? And so when you have the rest of your finger bones, I almost said your phone bones. This one's a lot shorter. And then, you know, it's sort of the tippy toes of your fingers are actually not pointed, but they're a bit more like this. Right? So that's a whole bunch of nothing, because you guys probably don't know a whole lot of anatomy, or maybe you do, but this is, you know, a good refresher. The meat popsicle that wraps around your bones and the flesh and the tendons and all that juicy stuff, that is this bullshit. That's how you get this silhouette. So when I'm sitting here harping on everybody about anatomy and why it's so important, this is why. Because if you don't understand how your bones work and how your structure works, you don't understand why you have that protrusion. You don't understand that your thumb actually articulates from this area. And then it makes drawing shit like your knuckles much harder. And that's also why your knuckles, they could flatten out a little bit. Right? I could push this bone down to really flatten out my hand. But for the most part, this bone likes to kind of sit a bit higher than the other two. Also, when you're, this is a whole different theory. When you're learning, I have to take my meds. Hold on. When you're learning how to punch properly, this is really not for children. Well, we're gonna do this. Okay. So when you're learning how to punch properly, this is years and years of Taekwondo and not punching people. When you punch, it's hard to do it that way. When you punch, you want to have a straight wrist, and you want to be hitting with these two knuckles. And the reason for that is so that the impact of the punch goes through these two knuckles, through these bones, into sort of the garbage sack of bones that's in your wrist, and goes straight into your radius and ulna. And ultimately, you're kind of punching a couple of different ways, right? So you have like upper hook, you have a hook, you have a straight punch. And so there's a whole bunch of physics that's now like, that we're not going to go into. But that's the reason why when you want to be punching somebody, you don't want to punch here. You don't want your wrist like this. You don't want your wrist like that. You want to have these bones connected with these bones. And that is a nice strong elbow, Because you also don't want to just be like flailing at people, right? Like you can't punch somebody like this. You got to have sort of structure and rigidity in the system, and have an understanding of how your muscles move together and the physics of punching people so that you can apply the maximum amount of force and not break your hand. So when you punch a wall, for example, and you punch a wall incorrectly, you break your hand. Why? Because you're exerting force onto your bones in a way that is such that it causes your bones to break. If you hit your elbow, right? If you hit your elbow with a ton of force, you're not probably going to break your arm bones, right? Unless you have like osteoporosis, and that's a whole different conversation. But if you apply that same amount of force on a point, this way you have a higher risk of breaking your radius and your ulna. Why? Because of the way that physics works. So, going back to drawing, I feel like I just go on these tangents, and it's really, it doesn't have to be so complicated, but it's so fascinating. So when you're drawing hands, you want to be keeping sort of the meat popsicle, the bone popsicle, the wooden stick of your meat popsicle in mind, so that you remember that when you're drawing a hand that is in perspective, like say this is where the wrist is and this is where your hands are coming out, we're looking at the bottom of a palm, you remember that you have sort of the bag of bones down here. You've got 4 bones that are coming out this way. And then depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, then you have a thumb bone that's going to come out in either direction. And that is what the meat popsicle wraps around to create your thumb. I'm done talking about this. I find it so fascinating, and then I talk about it a shit ton, and then I'm like, you know what? It's actually not that interesting. I'm just like, I'm done. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So go out and draw hands. Don't tag me. I don't want to talk about hands for a week. What was it, like a couple of days ago or a couple of weeks ago? I think I went into this whole like lecture about feet and how feet, like the structures of feet, and I just like went on this like long tirade about how to draw feet. So yeah, I'm just kind of thinking about how I want this thumb to be communicated there, and I think I'm actually going to move this over just a little bit because I just want a little bit of separation there. Or do I? I actually don't really like that tangent. Hold on. Do that. I just don't want it to be tangenting. That's really my concern right there. Okay. I need a nap. This was too much. God damn it. No. Why did I put that on the legs layer? Hold on. Why is this on the legs layer? Why is this on the legs layer? Why is this on the legs layer? Please leave. Immediately leave. Goodbye. And who the hell are you? And goodbye. Perplexity has been set to 5 million. And we're going to call this arm back again. Okay. So I still have hand bones up on my screen. Going back to remove. Tighten. Okay, so we've done all that. Next step is that we're going to go in and refine everything. So we're going to start here. Oops. And I think I talked about this in a previous episode, why I do this. Previous week, previous stream. I really like to be able to go back and check my work and make sure that, you know, my lines feel nice and crispy, making sure that my anatomy, the appeal of the drawing is working, that my composition and sort of the line flow, the line of action, everything just feels like it's coming together. And I find it easier to do this when I have hotkeys set up on my iPad so that I could really easily switch between sort of these different. I want sort of a like a little kiss of a ankle bone there. So yeah, I'm just going back and checking my work by doing this. I suppose you could just kind of continue on from this place, but I don't. This just makes sense to me, the way that I work, to use the line tool and then go back in, or the line brush and then go back in with sort of my textured brush. I also find that I have much better line control. I think James just got home. Please don't bark. Please don't bark. I know you're getting ready to bark and I'm not having it. Why do I keep putting this stuff on the wrong layer? There we go. Stop. I could hear it in your voice. Okay. How's the volume, by the way? I'm not gonna really know if you guys love it or hate it until after I watch this. Welcome home. I'm streaming. See, now I'm paranoid, so I have to like go back in here and just make sure that it's on the correct layer. I love that for me. Love that for myself. Okay. So we have a little bit of tangenting here that I don't like. So I'm just gonna kind of correct it a little bit. Hi, Stinky. Let's just kind of fill that up a little bit. And then we're going to clean up this line by just erasing into it a bit more. And then bring that down. Okay, and then we're going to go back into the hair. And I'm pretty happy with this shape. So I just want to kind of touch it up a little bit. And just kind of follow the same line language. That. Okay. Just a little bit there. Okay, I feel like we've done everything except for the hands now. And we're also going to clean up sort of the visual information here, because that's the other thing that's a bit of an issue. I'm sweating so bad. And I'm hungry. Yo, today's the first day since college that I like looked at my dinner and thought, should I eat half of this and then eat the other half tomorrow? Because the cost of like living has gone up. Eggs are $6. Eggs are $6 right now. Yes! James popping off in chat. Eggs are $6 right now, fam. I feel like some people just want to eat the world's eggs. Well, you know what's so crazy is like when the pandemic hit, I remember people were selling eggs for like $6, $10. And I was like, oh, nani? I remember people were selling eggs for like $6, $8, $10 during the height of the pandemic. Well, like, we're out of toilet paper, we're out of everything. And now it's like, no, it's not a supply chain issue. It's just an issue. It's terrifying, fam. Okay. So I just want to roughen this up just a little bit. I want my main sort of planes to kind of stay. And a bit of foreshortening there. But yeah, I want to give that sort of feeling of this thing coming up. And then if I draw a line and then hold it, see how it automatically corrects? It's a capitalism issue. It really is. Oh no, I didn't hear this sticker go off. I have my volume down a little bit, so I'm not getting my alerts the same way. Sorry. Can't scare me today. Not today, Satan. How good is this music? And the thing that's so great about it is it's needs more party parrot filter. Party parrots for later. Oh, we could do some party parrot right now. Hold on. Stand by for party parrot. Are you ready for party parrot? I love Snapcam. The chicken. I love the chicken sticker. It makes me so happy. All right, we've done the labor, fam. Now we actually got to do fun stuff. So we're gonna alpha lock the crap out of everything. Oh, actually we haven't. Sorry. Call this dirt. Dirt. The dirt. We're just gonna really quickly fix that and then erase into the bottom a little bit. Dirt. It's the dirt for me. You know what I should do? I should have StreamCam just play my alerts for me when people comment. That way I can keep working. Next time. Next time on Katya Draws Things from Final Fantasy VII. We'll have it dictate speech. If it'll let me. I think I have to be on Prime for that, though. I want a little bit of dirt right there. It's the dirt for me. Okay. Now we're going to alpha lock the crap out of everything. And we're going to turn off the sketch layer just so that I can double check my work. Alpha lock, alpha lock, alpha lock, alpha lock. So, Titan... That's not what I meant to do. Titan is a tan boy, so we're gonna give him sort of this like darker orange color for his whole body. And so now you can't see shit. That's okay, don't worry, fam. We're definitely going to want to make this brown color. And I'm going to make... This song slaps, dude. This was a good call, having the music play while I'm working, if I do say so myself. Definitely want to have that dirt there. For the under part of the slab, we're going to just pop a little bit of darkness underneath it, and then we're going to come back. For his body and his legs, we're going to go into a clipping mask mode. I'm going to take this lighter brown, and we're going to use multiply. We're going to do the same thing for arm back. We're going to clip mask into it. Have a little bit of darkness in there. Go to multiply. We'll do the same thing for the upper body. The upper body is going to be a little bit trickier because this isn't just like a box, right? He's got musculature there. He's got a little bit of of a shadow there. A little bit of the body sort of receding into the background. Now the front arm. So we're not doing this just because it looks good. We're doing this because we're also adding information here. And this will allow us to tell the audience what sort of what's going on with his body, right? Like his musculature. And it also allows us to separate objects in space, which is also very important, right? So we want to be able to separate that front hand and that back leg. We also want to have a little bit of that in the front of the face to give him a little bit of information. Multiply. Bomb. So I think in this instance, we're definitely going to want sort of that shape. And then cut in a little bit to show off his nose. Because, like, your nose usually picks up a lot of light. And then maybe kind of cut into the eye a little bit here. Just to give him a little bit of definition there. And then in the hands, we're going to clip mask, go to multiply. But instead of using the soft brush to do all of the work, we're going to go in with the wet pencil and mark out sort of some of that information, even like mark out his little fingernails, that thumb, right? And now all of a sudden everything's coming together. I just realized this man has bangles. And so we're gonna put them in. Oh, I forgot to do this back arm. That is gonna be a problem. And we want the bangle to be behind the dirt. We don't want it to be clipped masked in, though. This playlist slaps, dude. And the best part is I'm not going to get copyright stricken for it. There we go. That looks fucking bomb, dude. Sweet. We could also do the same thing because his ankles, he's got a little anklet action going on. I'll put a little bit of an anklet in there. I love a man in an anklet, you know? There you go. Alright. Oh, God. We're also going to go back and fix this because I didn't notice that I hadn't done that here. Gonna fix this situation. This is another reason why we clip mask, so that we could just fix the volume rather than having to fix the entire illustration. And we're gonna alpha lock that, and then we're gonna go into this lighter color and kind of just carve out, maybe with the side of our pencil, sort of that crease in the arm. And we'll do that here as well for his traps. A little bit here. So we have a bend in the arm, right? So we're gonna define that a little bit. These back legs, where is that? Just define it a little bit more. Maybe his kneecaps. And then we're going to do the same thing for his face. And just kind of define this a little bit more, clean up, give him a little bit of shape in his temple, clean up this part. Give sort of the tip of his nose a little bit more of a shadow. And then maybe give the ear a little bit more information there. And I think for this back arm, well, it's actually a shoulder, I want just a little bit more shadow here. See that? And in the face, we're gonna lighten this up. Just so that we can have sort of that line come back. Hey! Thank you so much! How are you? Lovely farts in the chat. Alright. Is it okay that I call you Lovely Farts? I feel like I don't want to, like... You know what I mean? Like, I have a friend who does cosplay, and she, like... No, but you said your name was Stephanie last time. It's fine. Oh, thank you for the heart! This way. Thank you. It's the Lovely Farts for me as well. I feel like last time you were in chat, you said your name, so it's fine, right? I don't know. Like, I don't want to just be like, hey, like... You know, because we have a friend that, like, is a cosplayer, and she does not want people to know. The heart was from Stinky. Thank you. Thank you, Stinky. I can't wait until I hit affiliates so that I can have Stinky stickers. My name is Sam, but not like people just know that, you know? Yeah. No, that's true. Wait, why did I think your name was Stephanie? I'm so sorry. I am the worst with names. I will, like, remember somebody's shoes, but I will not remember their name. I don't know what's wrong with me. How you been, Sam? It's been a hot minute. I think I saw you... Shiva? Was it the Shiva episode? The Shiva one? That you were here for? I feel people with anxiety and any sort of neurodivergent. Yeah, Shiva, right? See, like, random stuff. Like, I'm just, like, I'll remember stuff like that, but I will not remember somebody's name. Oh, this is his eyebrows. I kind of like that you can't tell if it's his eyebrows or his eyes. Oh, God, that is too funny. Oh, he does need eyeballs, though. We'll give him this, like, dark gray color, though. Your memory isn't that bad. Yeah, that's true. It's not like the worst memory in the world, but it's pretty stanky. My memory sucks. We're gonna give him his little teethsies. Like that. And then his eyebrows, we're gonna soften these babies up. Like, they do not need to be that strong. In fact, we're gonna get rid of the eyebrows entirely. I don't think he even has eyebrows. Ooh, I kind of like that. Ooh, kind of erase into the hairline like that. Yeah. All right. I don't know what color his eyes are supposed to be. But we're going to give him like a dark green. Because we have like dark green in the grass. No brows. Yeah, no brows. Fuck him. He doesn't need brows. He's a grown man with no underwear on. Well, he's wearing a jock strap, but you know what I mean. Speaking of jock straps, we probably should make it look like he's wearing something. So, Titan has this sort of, like, gemmed waistband situation that looks a bit like this. So I think if we, like, insinuate that there's, like, stuff down there, you know, that won't be too weird. Because then it's like, oh, this is the stuff that goes around his waist. It's fine. So I think something like that will be fine. And then we could do, like, the little gems. The gems are, like, these... They look like dirt. Like, stone things that kind of look like that. Or something. They're a little bit like that. They're a little bit. You know, I was gonna say, yeah, from this angle, his little something would be hanging around. Yeah, right? Like, I feel like we gotta have some junk. Put some junk in there. I guess we'll keep it this, like, gray color. His man junk. And then, it'll actually be behind the body. But not clipped in. Please don't clip in. Nobody asked you to clip in. I'm gonna rename this junk. And then we're gonna take this gray color, say, and then we're just gonna kind of buff the junk, so to speak. The junk has been buffed. Just now it just looks like a nutsack, which is not great. So maybe we'll make it like a blue. Like a little bit of blue, a little bit of blue, a little dark blue. Look at this and make it a little marine. These are like the things that like artists have to deal with. Like people think that like being an artist is so easy, but then it's like you have to deal with stupid shit, like stupid problems, and you're just like, ugh. Only his junk deserves to have his layer named. Yeah, the junk layer. Junk. Okay. I don't hate it. We'll just leave it like that. All right, and then the other thing that he needs his necklace as well. So we're gonna do that. His necklace is like kind of the same thing, but it's like that. Oh, it's actually like a string. Doesn't go all the way. I'm so excited to see all of the summons in the remake. I really hope we get all of the summons. It would make me so happy. So happy. I want to see the summons. I want to see all of them in their full glory. Okay, here's that, like, stone piece. And then we'll do, like, a little something like that. And maybe just kind of like a little dash. A little dash of the line. Yeah, they always have the cool design, right? I'm like... And honestly, okay, I'm gonna... You ready? He looks like he's taking a shit. He looks like he's taking... What is this? What is this? What is this? He's taking a shit, man. Not very dignified. So I feel like I've improved on the design a little bit. Alright, what we need here is a little bit of... I like to do... Oh, I can't do orange, can I? Could do a little bit of red. Typically I do orange, but then I remembered that's the color of his body, so we can't really do that. So we'll... Maybe this color yellow? It's so close to his skin tone, though. We're gonna rename that necklace. I just remembered, like, the 5 different things I started talking about, and then, like, stopped. Yeah, just a little bit of, just a little bit, you know? That helps. That helps. That makes me feel better. Alright, so before I move on, because I want to be sure that I have contrast, we're gonna make the background this sort of grayish blue color. And we're going to just introduce a little bit of depth. Into the world around us. Hopefully using the right pencils and pens. I'm really just not using any of the right things today. There you go. Alright. Kind of like that. And then I think for the ground we're gonna do this like greenish color, and then a little bit of that darker green, and smush it. It's the smushing for me. All right, we're gonna come back to the slab, and we're gonna add texture in the up and down position. And then we're going to go back in, grabbing this color, and we're going to clip mask into it. And create sort of that underlayer. A bit like that. And then we'll maybe use the side of the pencil to just give a little bit more density. A bit like that. so that it's not just like a flat object, you know? Maybe even a little bit of a shadow under his hands. Like that. So you got to remember that we're not just doing things to make them look good, although that is really important part of being a designer or any illustrator. You're also trying to communicate information, and we're trying to communicate spatial information of this piece of rock, right? And so it gives you that sense of like, okay, what is in front of what? And then we'll do the same thing to this dirt. And like, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially with like little pebbles and things, just like a little bit of like anything, really. And then you go in with like a texture brush and you mess with it and you're done. Like you don't have to like overdo it. And if you overdo it, you're actually doing your illustration a bit of a disservice. Cool. So we've done all of that. I feel like there's a couple other little things that are missing, and this is like my favorite thing. We have our multiplying color dodge. So we're going to do multiply on this layer. We're going to do color dodge on the top layer. And this is how we start adding more information into the illustration. And also adding a little bit of color, a little bit of tone as well. And so by, sort of creating just a little bit of visual information here, it's telling you that this slab is going into the earth. Right? It's receding away from you because darkness recedes typically and light comes forward typically. There are exceptions to that. So if we kind of put that information in, smudge it a little bit, just to give a little bit of visual interest and color shift. And then you kind of erase these foreground elements. It makes the foreground really pull forward a lot more. And I think at this point we're at a point where we can turn off our drawing guide because it's really starting to interfere with the composition. And I'm just going to erase a little bit because I don't want it to overpower the whole comp. Right? And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this orangish color, or maybe this color, just to kind of pull the front pieces forward, pull the back pieces back. I think for these sort of jewel elements, we don't need it to be a really heavy color, so we're going to use this darker blue. Remember, this is all in the spirit of making things recede and to separate out different shapes. That. Probably even use this color in his hair a little bit. Pupils of his eyes. We're going to go back to using this orangish color. And you'll notice that color dodge gives it a little bit of warmth. I'm trying to decide if I want to do that there. No, I don't. But I just want to kind of make sure that the things that are supposed to be in the background and pulling away from us are going to be pulling away. And now color dodge. We'll try this light blue. The thing that I'm a little concerned about is, yeah, cedar, sort of this yellowy color, but it's actually not terrible. And we'll get some highlights in the top of his hair. Like that. Maybe a little bit in his eyes. Little tippies of his little teethsies. I'm using the side of my pencil to lightly kind of buff in sort of that cheekbone, this nose, right? Just to pull it forward a little bit more. I can even kind of give him that like oily vibe. here. Where it gets a little funky is we have yellow on yellow, right? So if I start to put that information here, top of the knuckles, it gets lost. So you have to be really mindful and careful about where, like, you don't want to be doing it mindlessly. Like, you really want to be cautious and mindful about where you put this information and why you're putting it there. Definitely want a little bit of it sort of along the top ridge of the dirt, right? We really want to be sure that that's pulling forward, and especially because you have the blue light from the sky hitting the grass, hitting the dirt. You want that to be reflecting in this piece of ground that he's lifting up. You could also add just a little bit more texture and a little bit more depth by doing that. A little bit, maybe even here. And then I think what I'm gonna do, just as like a finishing touch thing, is I really wanted to have little crags. So I'm gonna grab that color and did I get rid of my sketch layer? I don't think I did. Nice, my sketch layer still has it. So I just want to have like a little kind of bits of the earth to kind of be like, yeah, like he don't fuck some shit up, you know what I mean? He done pulled this damn thing out. Like that. And I don't want to overdo it because I don't want to detract from the composition. But having sort of these like little blocks and pieces that kind of broke away is kind of interesting. And then I think a little bit of this green, right? Because that was grass. It just rips a bunch of grass out of the earth. Just a little bit of green up there on the slab. Just displaced all this earth. Also helps kind of give a little bit more visual color difference. Just looks more, just interesting, you know what I mean? We could even pop maybe some like little bits and pieces of grass like that. Just to kind of show like, oh, this is like falling down off of it. Even grab a little bit of this color. And now it looks like it's like little bits of dirt that are flaking off. Right? All right, so kind of last check before we call it. This is a technique that I like to use quite a bit, just to double check my work. You could do this pure black, pure white, pure gray, doesn't really matter. Drop it on top of your entire composition. Make that a saturation layer, so now it's only going to give you values. And then add a luminosity layer. And now we're just kind of looking at the most visually interesting, provocative parts of the composition. And so right off the bat, I'm noticing like, okay, like I'm losing a little bit of contrast in the areas that I really want to see them. So I want to have this like level of contrast around his face. So I want to be sure that I'm working on the luminosity layer when I do this. And I just want to kind of buff that luminosity into his face there. I don't know if I want it quite that bright. We're definitely missing a little bit of it here. So we'll grab that. Yeah, and so that was the thing that I was afraid of, is that I was gonna lose sort of that here. want it just to be a little bit brighter. And like maybe this is like the grass that he's ripped up. And then this looks a bit disconnected to me, and I know exactly what that layer is. It's on this color dodge layer. So we're gonna buff that back a little bit. And go back into luminosity and just kind of do that. So again, we're just trying to like really gently create the appropriate amount of information in areas where we need it. But we don't want to overdo it in areas where you really, like, you shouldn't be paying attention to that area anyways. So when you turn off your saturation layer, that should correct a lot of that problem. And you can also do it in reverse, right? Like if you want certain areas to be darker, which I do, like this, the junk situation is a problem. So we're just going to kind of even just like a little bit of a shadow here would be fine for me. Pull that back a little bit more. Oh no, I feel like that's just good. That's like just now doing too much. So maybe what we'll do, maybe the solution is we do that in this layer. So we're going to create a new luminosity layer. This is only for the background. This is behind the character. And I want it to be like a little bit darker right there. So that way it only messes with the layer that is behind it and not doing anything to his face or anything else. And then I feel like I could afford to have this area be a little bit brighter, just a little bit, just so we could show off the crags and the earth. So we'll do that. Yeah. Now to me, like this feels a little bit better. We might even do just one more little thing in his hair, because I know that I've used this color. I'm just gonna kind of add just a little bit of separation. Like his hair is pulling focus quite a bit. Just kind of darken it, just a little smidgen. Yeah, and now this is really starting to feel like a cohesive whole, right? Yeah, it's really popping, right? I feel like doing little things like that really helps. As a last option, you can always go in with like a soft light or a hard light and grab a little bit of this green and kind of buff it in as sort of the bounce back light, even a little bit into the background. Give it a little bit of texture and a little bit of just visual differences in the color. I think is really handsome. I'll even go in with like a pink on like body parts and just kind of like give just a little bit of warmth, right? Like it's like so subtle. But even adding a little bit of like purple in his hair, just like a little touch of it, creates this sort of like really nice variety of color that doesn't feel oppressive. Try not to overdo it here. Maybe we'll grab a little bit of this blue and introduce it into the ground like that. So yeah, I feel like we're at a place where we're kind of at a stopping point. I did try to keep this under 2 hours. So yeah, I think we're gonna call it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to sort of our reference. This big boy. And I feel like it really encapsulates sort of the essence of the summon of Titan. You know, he's ripping up the ground. He's a big boy. So yeah, I'm tired. I'm sweaty and tired. I think I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy you were here again, Sam. It's been a couple of episodes, so I keep saying that. It's been a couple of weeks. So I'm really happy that you were able to stop by. Thank you to the 2 other people that were watching. Really just happy people are here and vibing with me. So as promised, we're going to go into the outro. And to do that, we're gonna clap clap. Thank you. All right, we're gonna party parrot our way into the outro. Bye. Absolutely, we're gonna go out using the party parrot filter yet again.